제22회 실례합니다.
안녕하세요. Welcome everyone to Let's Speak Korean. I'm your host, Lisa Kelly, and next to me, I didn't think of an adjective for you today. I look at you and I'm like, oh, what do I call him?
That's okay. Call me Steven.
Actually, today you look like a teddy bear. So we have our teddy bear, Steven.
Teddy bear, okay. 안녕하세요. 저는 Steven입니다. And today we're going to be going over, actually we're going to show you just how difficult the Korean language is, because we've got a lot of expressions here that wouldn't make any sense if you directly translated them. One of them being 실례합니다, which is excuse me when you're doing something a little impolite. Right. But you may notice that people on the street never say 실례합니다. It's only when you're interrupting somebody mostly that this gets used.
Right. Okay, I get what you're saying by people on the street, because here it's a very crowded country and it's considered okay when you bump people along when you're on the street, and you don't have to say excuse me or 실례합니다.
Well, but when you do bump into somebody, instead of saying that, you say 잠시만요 usually, or 죄송합니다, I'm sorry. You don't say excuse me. The exact translation of excuse me would be more like 실례합니다, but that's not used when you're bumping into people or stuff like that.
Well, anyway, that's the last thing I wanted you to say, is how difficult the Korean language was. And I'm sure it's the last thing on our students' minds here. Hi, Mario.
Hello, Lisa. Hi, Steve. 반갑습니다. 저는 미리암입니다.
안녕하세요. 저는 제이슨입니다.
Okay, good. Try 반갑습니다 one more time.
반갑습니다.
There you go. Okay, the lips kind of have to close.
All right. Well, actually, I was going to ask our students to introduce themselves in Korean and say a greeting, but of course they're awesome. I don't even have to ask them because they do it without even me asking. Anyhow, up till now, we have learned greetings and how to say hello and go shopping and do lots of different things with our friends, coworkers, and family. But today, we're going to learn a very formal situation, what you would say to someone that you don't know, which is probably something very handy with the Korean language. Okay, let's go and start in Let's Do It.
Let's do it.
실례합니다.
어떻게 오셨어요?
미리암을 만나러 왔는데요.
So we already introduced to you that we're going to be learning about 실례합니다, and we heard a few other expressions, but I'd like to first cover where we would say this sort of expression. Stephen already said you would say it when you want to say excuse me, but I also noticed that when you order some food in, when the person comes in unannounced, he usually says 실례합니다, and it's kind of like announcing himself, like, I'm here, excuse me, anyone here?
Pretty much when you are bumping in on somebody doing something, when somebody's busy doing something else, you walk in, you kind of interrupt them in some sense. You're going to be using...
실례합니다. Like this, when you want to interrupt someone.
Yeah, that's very good. Yeah, 실례합니다. Anyway, and notice the pronunciation here. It looks like it should be 실례, which is almost impossible to pronounce, isn't it? Yeah. How do you say 실례? Because the vowel is yeah. But what happens is, of course, it just ends up being pronounced 실례, 실례, 실례합니다, 실례입니다.
Right. And 실례 in Korean actually means like a pardon or something that you've done wrong, which is why I guess it ends up being I'm sorry, excuse me. Okay, let's try it out first. 실례합니다.
실례합니다.
Good.
실례합니다.
Good.
Yeah, and also you want to pay attention to, we've been over this before, I think, but when you say 합니다, it looks like it's written as 합니다, doesn't it? It looks like you should be saying 합니다, but that's, once again, I'm having trouble pronouncing it, 합니다, so you end up saying 합니다, 합니다, 실례합니다.
And since we are on 실례합니다, I think we have to learn the other words that we would say in place of this. You can just use them at your whenever you want to, and use the one that probably comes most naturally to you in pronunciation. You can say 실례합니다, but you can also say 미안합니다, which literally means I'm sorry, but it can also excuse you in certain situations, or 죄송합니다.
Which I hear a lot more often. I think Koreans have a tendency, 미안합니다 is for a real apology, when you're really apologizing for something, and 죄송합니다 is much more for when you're just kind of bumping into somebody, or you're, in those other circumstances where you've done something that might bother somebody.
Good. And after this expression, we had someone else saying, 어떻게, how, 어떻게 오셨어요? How did you come is the literal translation. But obviously, naturally, it's just what brings you here, or how can I help you? 어떻게 오셨어요?
Yeah. Hence the confusion, right?
Yes.
We want to say by bus. 어떻게 오셨어요? I came by bus, or I walked here, right?
Right.
How did you get here? Why are you asking me that? But what they're saying is, what brings you here? For what reason did you come? 어떻게 오셨어요?
And I'd also like to point out, literally, it does mean, how did you get here if you want to ask by what mode of transportation. But obviously, if you see someone for the first time, you're not going to say, so, did you walk here? You're going to say, oh, so what brings you here? Or how can I help you?
Korean, I've read this before. Korean is a very high context language.
Right.
You tell a lot of meaning from the context.
Let's try this out between the two of you. Miriam can be going to visit Jason to go see Steven. Right? Okay. All right.
실례합니다.
어떻게 하셨어요?
스티븐 씨를 만나러 왔는데요.
미안하지만 스티븐 씨 자고 있어요.
Oh, you're always sleeping. Putting all our lessons together, I really like this.
Our 모범생들, our very advanced students here. Yes, one thing you want to practice is adding these past tense verbs onto 는데요. That's the ending that we're going over here. You're just making observations, okay? Maybe you want to say, oh, they did it already. 했는데요. Or then you want to say, they ate it already. 먹었는데요. Right? You're adding the past tense, just adding to your 는데요.
And most of you out there that have been joining us frequently for our show might be saying, oh, 우리 했는데요. 우리 공부했는데요.
Right. 배웠는데요.
We've studied it, we've learned it. But practice makes perfect, and repetition, there's nothing better than repetition when you're learning a language. Okay, let's go on to wrap it up.
Wrap it up.
With Lisa
And Steven.
실례합니다.
어떻게 오셨어요?
제이슨 씨를 만나러 왔는데요.
All right, we learned a very useful expression because you're going to run into people that you don't know or are not familiar with all the time. You're always going to new places. This is definitely something that you should have under your belt. And as a reminder, I know lots of people would say, I think the literal translation would be, where, why, 왔어요. Okay, what brings you here, or why are you here, would be, 오다 would be the, come. So why are you here? 왜 왔어요? Tell me why this is wrong.
Yeah, you be careful with that. You don't want to use other expressions. I think that's why it ends up being, how did you come here? Because it's kind of an indirect way of saying what brings you here. Why did you come here?
Do you guys want to try today's dialogue with each other one last time?
Okay. Do you want to start?
실례합니다.
어떻게 오셨어요?
스티븐 씨를 만나러 오셨는데요.
I think that's
What?
wrong.
What's so funny?
You never say 제가 오셨어요. No. Okay? You always say 제가 왔어요. Okay? 제가 왔습니다. If you add that she, you're being extremely polite. So, and talking very highly of the person, so never put yourself in the high form.
That's right. Okay, 반말 and 존댓말, these, it gets a little confusing. I know once you add yo, of course, it does become the respectful form, but things like she, those are one of the things that you automatically want to say your name in she because you hear other people say it all the time to you. Right. Okay, well, I guess that wraps it up for today. Keep practicing, and please join us again next time here at Let's Speak Korean. Bye-bye.
And in the meantime,
Bye, everybody.
ArirangTV.com. Bye-bye.